Countable and uncountable nouns. You use nouns to name things. There are two types of English nouns, countable and uncountable. Uncountable nouns are things you can't count. Some examples of uncountable nouns are collections of things. For example, furniture, luggage, rubbish, art, music. Substances: sand, air, gas, light, electricity. Liquids like water, milk, cheese, beer, tea, coffee. Weather words: snow, ice, rain. Food: garlic, bread, meat, butter, cheese, spaghetti, ketchup. Food: I said garlic, bread, meat, butter, cheese, spaghetti, ketchup. And feelings: love, sadness, happiness, anger. Activities: tennis, football, work, study. Knowledge and ideas: information, advice, understanding. Using countable and uncountable nouns. What are the differences between countable and uncountable nouns? Countable nouns, you can count these. There are singular and plural forms. Uncountable nouns, you can't count these. There is only one form. For example, for countable nouns, we can say one cat, two cats, one student, 10 students. For uncountable nouns, you can say rice, milk, water, oil, sugar, furniture, weather, information. Well, for countable nouns, you use single and plural verbs. For example, the lesson starts at 9:30. The lessons start at 9:30. For uncountable nouns, you always use a singular verb. There is no furniture in there. Well, for countable nouns, you can use a or an in front of them. An envelope, a letter. For uncountable nouns, you cannot use a or an in front of them. You can use not many and a few in front of countable noun in front of them. You cannot use not much and a little in front of them. There are a few people waiting for the bus. There aren't many people here today. For uncountable noun, you can use not much and a little in front of them. You cannot use not many and a few in front of them. There is a little sugar left. There is not much flour left. Well, so, in other words, countable and uncountable nouns. Countable nouns have singular and plural, but uncountable nouns are only singular. For example, milk. Then there is an exercise. The exercise number 1, you can write C for countable nouns or U for uncountable nouns. For example, tomato is countable noun. Bread is uncountable noun, and so on. In other exercise, we can use there is or there are, and some, a lot, any, many. But when? Look, countable nouns. For example, there is an orange. There are some or a lot of oranges. There aren't any or many oranges. For uncountable nouns, the examples are: there is some or a lot of rice. There isn't any or there isn't much rice. The exercise number 2. We can look at the picture of a fruit basket and choose the right option. For example, there are a lot of bananas. We can say, oh, there are some bananas. But we must look at the picture and then we can say there are some bananas, not a lot of. There are much or some blackberries. We only see that there are some blackberries. What about apples? Do you see apples? No. So there aren't any apples. There is some pineapple or only one. There is a pineapple. There aren't any vegetables. Okay, ask about quantity. Quantity. If you want to ask about quantity, you use how many or how much. How many are for countable nouns and how much for uncountable nouns. How many eggs are there? There are some or a lot. Are there any eggs? Yes, there are. Or no, there aren't. Uncountable nouns. How much rice is there? There is some or a lot. Is there any rice? Yes, there is. No, there isn't. Now the exercise number 3. You have to complete the questions with how much, how many, and any. For example, do you eat any vegetables? We use any for questions. Yes, some. You use some for answers or affirmative sentences. Fish. Fish is uncountable noun. So, how much fish do the English eat? A lot. 3. Hamburgers are countable now, so we must use how many. How many hamburgers did you have? 2. Is there any cheese in the fridge? Any, because it is a question. Yes, there is. Do the Chinese eat any rice? Yes, a lot. How much sugar do you take in your tea? How much? Because uncountable is the noun. Sugar is uncountable noun. Just 1 teaspoon, solo una cucharadita. How many apples? Apples are countable nouns. So how many? Apples are, because it is plural, they are in the bowl. 3. Are there any strawberries? No, there aren't. So let's buy some. Okay? Well, so finally, how many and how much? Some, any, a lot of, many, and much. With plural countable nouns, we use how many biscuits are there, for example. There are 2 or a lot. Are there any biscuits? In interrogative form. Yes, there are. No, there aren't. And then we can say there aren't any apples or there aren't many apples. For uncountable nouns, how much fish is there? There is some or a lot. Is there any fish? Yes, there is. No, there isn't. There is some rice. There is a lot of rice. There isn't any milk. There isn't much milk. So, with countable nouns, we use, look, many, how many, And with uncountable nouns, we use much or how much, not much. Okay? Well, here are other examples of the use of countable or uncountable nouns. For example, countable nouns, singular plus there is. For example, there is a sandwich or there is an egg. And plural, there are some sandwiches. There are a lot of sandwiches or there are many sandwiches. If we want to say a few, pocos o algunos, we can say a few for countable. So, for countable, we use a lot of, many, and a few. There is only for one countable noun, or some, a lot of, many for plural. A few for plural too, but cuando queremos decir pocos. Interrogative or question: are there any sandwiches? Or is there a sandwich? Yes, there is. No, there isn't. If there is only one. But if there is more than one, you can say the answer: are there any sandwiches? Yes, there are. No, there aren't. Plural, negative. There aren't any sandwiches. Singular, negative. There isn't a sandwich, or there isn't an egg. Plural, there are many pencils. There are a few cakes. Many, muchos. A few, pocos. O sea, algunas. Para contables. Para uncountable, affirmative, we say there is some milk. Siempre usamos is. Always we use is. For uncountable, there is some milk. Hay algo de leche. En forma de pregunta, interrogative form, is there any milk? The short answers, las respuestas cortas, ¿hay algo de leche? Yes, there is. No, there isn't. Look, mira, siempre usamos any para preguntas. There isn't any wine. No hay vino. Is there any wine? ¿Hay algo de vino? Yes, there is. No, there isn't. There is much water. There is a little beer. En contraste con los contables, para incontables nosotros usamos much para mucho y a little para poco o algo. Fíjate que para contables decimos many, para incontables much. Para contables decimos a few, algo, un poco, y para no contables decimos a little. Bien, y esto es todo en cuanto a sustantivos contables e incontables.